your supplements and functional foods, legal developments, ingredient news, education, inspiration, entertainment, insider in the afternoon.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Insider in the Afternoon. Good to see you. I'm Todd Runestad, and my co-host right here.
I'm Lessard.
And we are the co-factors.
Yes, we are.
Ola's a little slow because she just spent the last weeks in Hawaii. And you are looking a little tan. Nice work.
That's a very challenging thing for me to do with my heritage, but yes, I'll take it. It's the Irish tan, so it's like just a slight shade of pink, and then it immediately fades back to pasty. So,
I think I see a couple extra freckles on your cheeks there. I think
there are probably a lot. I was pretty freckled as a kid, so yeah, not as much as my brother Tensing. He was the one who would go from more and more and more freckles till suddenly he was just very brown, because it was all connect. But yeah, nice.
So Ola, I'm thinking, it's 2022. I was about to say 19. It's 2022 already, and how come I love this show with you, and I love so much. And I was thinking, how come we don't have any supplements for love? Like Southwest Airline, their stock ticker is LUV. Subaru cars, love a Subaru. It's like there's libido supplements, but love, that's not a drug disease claim. I mean, what's up with that?
That's a good question.
Right?
Yeah, somebody needs to get on that real fast, because that's a fabulous marketing idea, people. Let's go with that.
Yeah, right. Love in 2022. I think we might be touching each other more. Expo West is going to be happening.
We can have a whole new book. We've got an author on the show today, so our love. Forget love in a time of cholera. It's love in a time of COVID, and it's all about supplements. So
that's right.
Over that up to you.
Supplements are up, and we do have Rick Polito and Rick. Why don't you jump on board here, because we're going to talk trends for 2022, and that's right. As Ola and I pointed out, I think love is definitely trending. That's right, and we'll see if any fast and savvy marketers can get on it. Rick, who is the editor-in-chief of Nutrition Business Journal and a thrice published author, for COVID, I just sat around and put on weight. But Rick, you sat around and cranked out a couple of novels. Do you got any with you? Can we see one of those?
No, I didn't bring my ubiquitous product placement. I feel like a bit of a failure here.
Oh, well. So, first of all, Alex Smolikoff, one of our writers on Natural Products Insider, wrote the story about trends, and he couldn't join us today. But the interesting thing that he found, before I jump to you, Rick, is consumers, 8 in 10 consumers said flavor is still, number one, which is no surprise to anyone. But they said that natural products don't quite taste as good as they wanted it to. And their favorite, the indulgent flavors, chocolate, ice cream, peanut butter. So it kind of seems like nothing is new under the sun. But they also said that they really wanted healthy products. And so because of these flavor issues, they kind of said 2/3 of them said beverages are the means by which they could consume healthier products. So I thought that was really interesting. And then also plant-based is another trend that's happening. And then just the one weird thing that I wanted to say before I hop to you, Rick, is they were saying consumers are also saying yes, when I think health and plant-based, they think fruits, and it's the big three. It's how American can you possibly get? Apples, bananas, oranges, and blueberries. That's right. So here I am, the American boy. So I guess I am on trend right now. So Rick, let's hop with what you wrote. And Charlie, maybe can you flip up that one bar chart? Because that was a key part of Rick's story that he wrote for NBJ. And let's talk about that a little, Rick. What do you see as some of these trends that are happening? I think this chart is trends as seen by manufacturers, right?
Yes, it's because we have access to what's coming at Expo. We can look like what falls into which buckets for trends. And so among the top ones here, is if the chart's up, I can't tell.
Yeah.
So you can see what manufacturers are emphasizing, and they're like eat more plants. You were talking about a second ago. It's right there at the top. But let me back up a little bit. Everybody says you can't compare apples and oranges. I can. Oranges are better. You can't make apple juice. You can't make a good drink out of that, where you can make a screwdriver with orange juice. So therefore, I'm comparing apples and oranges and saying that oranges are better. Convince me otherwise.
Yeah, a screwdriver. People don't make screwdrivers anymore. But
good.
Would you put rum in apple juice? Would that be better?
There's something called an apple teeny, but
and some,
so I don't drink drinks like that.
That's a trend, is those natural, the non-alcoholic beverages. There was that, what's it called? No proof, zero proof, that brand right there. That was a Nexty candidate. I think they won last for Expo East. And one of them, I think it was the rum that was like spot on rum. And so that's really interesting. That's kind of a thing, is that non-alcohol.
Yeah, possibly. We don't have that in our trends yet, though. But when we look at it, like the things that manufacturers are putting out there and emphasizing, or at least they're cropping up the most, we have eat more plants at the top, and then what we call multi-stakeholder, which is about being good for the planet, being good for social, all hitting all the numbers for helping rather than just exploiting like so many products do. And then follow that by clean label and sugar vilified, as we call it. But then we have we did a survey, like what do the consumers think about this? And, we like to think the natural products industry is sort of leading the consumer on this journey, but consumers are not always there yet.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of the top ones right up there on that chart is nutrition meets convenience. Convenience just isn't going away. That's just a thing that American wants. They want their enlightenment, and they want it quick and easy and cheap. And, so the same goes with nutrition. Yeah.
Well, the consumers were asked, looking at those same trends and pick their top three. And you see nutrition meets convenience was by far at the top. And clean labels up there and reduced sugar in third, but none of the above outranks everything else on that list that we had, which is, I don't know if that's disheartening or just, it shows white space, right?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I'm a, knee-jerk Pollyanna optimist. So I'm going to go with white space on that one and not just, confusing, but I think part of that, like as we go through this COVID thing, just from the supplement standpoint, we hear a lot about mood supplements. That's really big. And so that creates more runway for adaptogens. Adaptogens, remember, like that was like the stress and anxiety before CBD came on, they were often running, and then CBD kind of hit that. And now it's still there. And so like ashwagandha was up 50% last year. So I still see adaptogens as being, they're not going anywhere, and people are looking for these sort of like mood solutions, like it's this ennui that they're feeling, that's right. That's a French word, ennui. I was just watching Emily in Paris. I can throw around French words with the worst of them.
This is why you're talking about love now, Todd. This is what happened. You watched a French movie, you learned a French word, and now it's all about love. I see. I follow the trail now.
Right. See, I'm a sucker. I'm a diehard romantic, and yeah.
So can we talk about the convenience meets nutrition? Like, to me, that's the rise of gummies, right? I mean, that is flavor, right? That's, people want the easy way to get something and make it yummy while you're at it, and maybe it's not always the best way to get it, but that's what I see, that is what's going to be driving gummy sales. What do you think, Rick? I mean,
well, that was what Todd was just saying. When you look at the survey that we were going to talk about with Alex's piece, is people want to drink, they want to drink their function. The functional drinks are huge and great. But going back to, he's talking about stress before we got to love, stress and anxiety. We called that, one of the adjacent conditions during the height of the pandemic in 2020, when supplements shot up 14.5%. A lot of that was immunity. They shot up 60% or so, but I think sleep and then stress and mood, we were up in the mid 30% growth, which is huge. And they sustain that better than immunity. I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but those are, really strong. We want to be less stress and plenty of sleep. More sleep, less stress, more
Yeah.
love.
They all go together, don't they? I mean, they really do. You know, it's like people, they want more energy and they want more sleep, you know, and you know, if you get more sleep, you get more energy. It almost seems in a way that they're opposites, but they're actually the same sides of, or different sides of the same coin, I think, right? Yeah, that's the saying. So let's go. This is all really interesting because okay, now that we have these need states that are really trending, especially in America and especially in this COVID space, you know, stress, sleep, anxiety, love, let us call it, you know, is another thing out there. So now the question becomes, what brands are really nailing it? And I want to read this quote that I just read. It was by one of these execs who works with Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway. What? Talking stocks? That's right. But he said that they judge a company, quote, based on how much customers love it. And he said that zillions of friends who they would almost part with their right arm than they would part with their iPhone. That's a hugely powerful position to be in. So he was saying like, oh yeah, like people love Apple products. You should invest in Apple stock because they're not going anywhere because they have so much love. So now the natural products industry is you know, Rick, what did you call Whole Foods Market the other day?
That's the Apple store of natural products.
Right. I love that. Yeah, that's perfect. And so now the question is like, what are the killer apps in that Apple store, in that Whole Foods Market, in that, you know, in the health food store that are trending? And so I took a picture, and Charlie, if you could start running some of these are pictures. This first one is of my kitchen, and you could see the brands. Annie's, that's a huge mac and cheese brand. You know, Bragg's, they own apple cider vinegar. Knutson's, their drinks, and Cliff Bars, and Celestial Seasonings, traditional medicinals, you know, and Horizon Organic Milk, like they totally own the organic milk, you know, situation. And so that's, you know, I guess the question is like, these are all like big, you know, they're now kind of mainstream natural product brands. But like, if one of them were to go away, like if Annie's were to go away, would there just be another, you know, organic mac and cheese to come on the market? You know, like, would there be another tea company to come? Or are some of these brands just like the Apple of our eyes in the natural products industry? Now, I know, Charlie, you're running a number of these different shots from us editors. And so you see the Bob's Red Mill, you see the Winged, you see the Tofurkey. There's more Annie's that are out there, you know, in their salad dressing. Numi tea, I see that's there. Late July, they've been around forever. You know, even like when you see Activia from Dannon, you know, Dannon, they bought White Wave, right? And, you know, which was the original soy milk. So I don't know, like the question remains, what do you think, Rick? Are there, you know, are there those Apple products in the natural products industry?
Well, you can debate the sort of the credentials natural wise of it, but I'd hold out there Trader Joe's. Everybody goes to Trader Joe's and has like 3 products that they go home with in their basket every time they go there. So I think that's one to hold out. I'm trying to think for me personally, I've become what I call a tortilla evangelist, where I grew up with my Mexican grandmother in Tucson, including really good flour tortillas. So I'm telling everybody I know, go to tortillafamilia.com. I have a subscription where every 6 weeks, 5 dozen tortillas show up on my door. So I think that there's all this room to really establish these categories with some like premier product that changes everybody's mind about something. I guarantee you, I will change your mind about tortillas if you go to tortillafamilia.com.
Well, that is love. Like once you're on the subscription plan, then that is love. And that's what we're talking about. So really cool conversation that we had this week. Ola, keep that tan up. That's looking good. Rick, thanks for joining us this week on Insider in the Afternoon. Now we're going to cut and do something a little different. And here we got Asa Waldstein on a little 2-minute thing on some regulatory wisdom that we all need to be aware of playing here in the natural products biz. Take it away, Asa.
Because there's a lot of litigation regarding natural, right? There's just endless litigation. And where this gets expensive is these class action cases, right? Like, especially in California is where most of these are brought under the CLRA. And the FDA, there is no formal definition of natural, right? Like the FDA said, no, we're not going to give you a definition. They've defined natural flavors, but they will not give a definition for natural. And the same goes with the FTC. The informal guidance offered by the FDA states that its view of natural is meaning that, quote, nothing artificial or synthetic has been included in or has been added to a food that would not normally be expected to be in the food. So then they went on to talk about things like synthetic chemical preservatives like sodium benzoate and potassium sorbate. And I welcome your thoughts about those. I mean, I would believe that those would be not natural, right?
Nope, not natural in my opinion. I was reviewing a label for a client just a week or two ago, and they were making a natural statement in some of their secondary, tertiary marketing. And I said, you've got potassium sorbate and sodium benzoate on there. That's not natural. And then it also is a vitamin C product, which, you know, ascorbic acid's more natural form than natural. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I'm glad.
Can I just say one more thing about mitigating risk in natural, because I've actually helped clients work through this before. So I had a client that had all natural on their product, and it was not all natural. It had, I think, sucralose in it. So one of the things we talked about doing was contains natural ingredients, which wouldn't work for that case, but no artificial ingredients if appropriate, right? There are ways to try to convey the same message and still be truthful. So, yeah, you know, there's certainly ways that you can convey a message that you want to convey and still be truthful. And I think in the Zarbee's case, the NAD had recommended that, you know, the brand name wasn't necessarily a problem if they were able to convey what ingredients weren't natural, right? Like they just needed to modify some of the claims and statements in their marketing, right? Because that was what mainly the problem was in that NAD decision. And they talked about too, like with the exception of melatonin, because apparently you can't get a natural source of that. So you're allowed to continue to say natural on your label if you have melatonin in there, which I thought was interesting because I wasn't aware of that exception to that rule.
Hey, thanks, Asa. That was fantastic. And now I've got a conversation with Bob Capelli on the Toddcast here. Now, Bob, he just finished his tenure, I think, in the natural products industry. He's retiring, and he's got some real savvy wisdom that we all want to tune into. So let's tune into Bob Capelli right now. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Toddcast here. I've got a special guest with us today, Bob Capelli, who is he has just stepped down. I believe he's retiring as the CEO of BGG Americas. Bob, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing real well, Todd. This is a real pleasure to get to talk to you in this forum here.
Yeah. So just for the uninitiated, Bob and I, we go back probably 15 years or so when you were the marketing director at Cyanotech, which Correct. Is now Cyanotech's renowned for its spirulina, and then it also has other carotenoids that it grows, I guess, harvests in these great big ponds. There's a couple different ways to do that. You know, that there's the pipes that people do, or you could do the big open ponds. And so you guys would do the big ponds on the dry side of the big island on the Kona coast. So I just want to start there for a minute. What are some of your favorite cocktails, Bob? You know, like there's the
Well, being that I've lived in Hawaii for 20 years, I guess I have to say Mai Tai, although I don't drink a lot of Mai Tais. But no, my wife and I were big beer and wine people. We drink cocktails very infrequently.
Yeah, well, you know, because the carotenoid cocktail, when you talk astaxanthin, it's not like some nature identical, molecularly identical astaxanthin. It's this carotenoid cocktail, right?
Absolutely, yeah, and that's a great point because synthetic astaxanthin has entered the market. It hasn't done very well. It's been in the market since I think 2014, I want to say, but it's not the same molecule. It's completely different. It's shaped differently. Like you mentioned earlier, the natural astaxanthin from algae has supporting carotenoids. It's got some beta carotene, it's got some lutein, it's got some zeaxanthin, it's got some canthaxanthin. So it really is a carotenoid cocktail when you get it from algae. And the third thing is that the synthetic astaxanthin is not esterified. So the natural astaxanthin from algae has some fatty acids attached to the ends of the molecule. That helps it absorb better. And the end result is the natural astaxanthin is 20 to 90 times more powerful as an antioxidant than synthetic. So it's a huge difference. And all kinds of tests on animals show great differences in health benefits as well. So yeah, it's like night and day difference, Todd.
So, but for as far as the farmed salmon, does the synthetic astaxanthin turn the silver farmed salmon pink?
It does. It does. That's where synthetic has done very well in the salmon industry, because the natural does cost, not a lot more, but 20, 30% more than synthetic. And for the salmon actually pigmenting their flesh, the synthetic works, pretty equally to the natural. So it doesn't help their health as well. And that's been documented. In fact, when you feed salmon astaxanthin when they're young, when they're fish fries, 87% live to maturity. When you don't feed them astaxanthin, only 14% live to maturity. It's a huge difference. So astaxanthin is an essential nutrient for fish. I believe it's an essential nutrient for humans too. But
so I'm right. When I go to restaurants and they say they have salmon, and so you want to get the wild, like say Alaskan salmon. You don't. If you get Atlantic salmon, that is farmed salmon, and then that's gonna get the synthetic astaxanthin in order to make it pink, because no one's going to want to order salmon and have it come silver on your plate. They would be like, I'm sorry, I ordered the salmon.
Yeah. Well, that's absolutely true. And it's, astaxanthin is one part of that. The other part of that is that if you look at farm salmon, because of the diet that they're fed that has this synthetic astaxanthin, but it also is like mostly they're feeding them almost like livestock. They're feeding them grains and things like that instead of like what they would naturally eat in the wild. So the omega-3 content's much lower in farm salmon. I mean, everything about farm salmon is worse than the wild. So you got to pay a little bit more, but it's worth it for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you're ordering salmon, a big reason why you're ordering it is for the health purposes. So get what you think you want. Right. So
Absolutely.
You don't want farm salmon. You're also going to get more, CFC, like toxins from the coal burning power plants, in the Atlantic. There's nothing good about Atlantic salmon. No, sorry.
Agreed.
Yeah. Right. So, anyway, so then you transitioned from Cyanotech to BGG, which, that big company, lots of different ingredients, but they definitely have astaxanthin, which was one of the things that you grew at Cyanotech, right? Like it wasn't just spirulina, although it was mainly spirulina, right?
Well, yeah, actually, when I started at Cyanotech, it was, I think, about 95% spirulina was the sales ratio and 5% astaxanthin. That was 2002. And when I left there in 2013, it was almost not quite, but it was probably about like 20% spirulina and 80% astaxanthin. It would really flip flop because, spirulina is a great product. I still actually take it every day. However, astaxanthin is just so efficacious, and it's clinically validated for 10 different health benefits. And spirulina just can't really match astaxanthin's health benefits. So it really has been a remarkable change in just a few years.
Yeah, and that benefited from the Dr. Oz effect. He talked about it somewhere along the line there, and then all of a sudden, boom. So and it still maintained that brisk sales. Like it wasn't just a trend or a little flash in the pan fad.
Absolutely not, Todd. The nice thing about astaxanthin is that about 80% of people that take it for at least a month or two, they feel it working in their bodies. And when you get that kind of reaction from taking a supplement, most people are going to stay on that because, they can actually see the benefits for themselves. And, how many supplements in our industry really actually have that effect? I think probably less than 5% where you can really feel it working.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, that's one of the things we're talking about at Natural Products Expo West, which is coming up soon. I'm putting together a seminar on experiential supplements, which are those things that, I can feel a difference. Because, caffeine is kind of the poster child, right? But also, because so much of supplements are hope in a bottle, right? Oh, I'm just going to take this fish oil and hope that in 30 years, I'm not going to get that heart attack, because I'm taking this. But so, yeah, if you can get something that you can feel, now you're onto something there, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. Big difference.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your journey because, so I knew you as a marketing guy, and I want to point out, because I don't know if you or anyone else has done that since, but you came up with the smart idea. You were like, okay, so here's my marketing budget, and I spend the money for the, in the trade press, for brand building, for the full page ads. But instead, I'm going to take that budget and I'm going to fly out all the editors of the magazines to Hawaii right before Expo so that they could hang out for a few days and learn everything there is to know about spirulina. And I'm telling you, that worked for me, because every time, in the years to come, it's like, oh, let's do a joint health story. I'm like, let's add spirulina to that because of the anti-inflammatory, and all kinds of different things that I wouldn't. So like, that was really inspired. Nice move there, Bob.
Yeah. I mean, that worked out well. And yourself and a few other people, that was back in 2007. And, a lot of these people are still in the industry floating around that came. And, I'm sure you've seen the trade shows and such. And so, to me, you guys, the editors of trade journals, are really, I hate to say it this way, but the most important people in the industry, because you're the people disseminating the news. You're the people that are choosing what to focus on in the trade press. And so, we really place and my successor, Shaheen Majid, who I think you just talked to recently, we both place a huge emphasis on keeping great relations with folks like you.
Yeah. So what sort of leadership hacks did you bring into BGG? I mean, you're obviously an innovative thinker there at Sanitec, with that move, from the marketing play. What did you do to keep the fortunes of BGG going? What's some good leadership, lessons learned that you could tell the C-level people that are tuning in here?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think that, what I try to do is just to give as much attention to the customer and to the people dealing with the customer. So customer service, sales reps, and, the back end of the house, we have, strong people there. And so it didn't require as much of my time and efforts, but, certainly, in any company, the customer is paying our salaries. And so that's who you got to get, devote most of your time and energy to. And that's what I've focused on the whole time.
Right. And so that whole time, like BGG, were they growing their astaxanthin the same way that Sanitec was growing its spirulina in those big open ponds?
No. So the open ponds are what I would consider sort of an early foray into production of astaxanthin. And BGG has a closed system that's in tubes. Mm-hmm. So really doing the best of both things. What you're doing is the open ponds are great because you're using the sun's energy. So you're not, companies like Asterial, they use like artificial light and very energy intensive because they're doing it indoors. The tube system that BGG uses, we're using the sun's energy because it's just glass tubes out in nature, but the closed system prevents any sort of contaminants, any kind of foreign algae from entering the system. So you're getting a really pure and clean product out of the system. Yeah,
right. So that's cool. So you probably, BGG, it's got 100+ ingredients, right? So you had a lot more balls in the air than you did at Sanitec, right?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have 100, but we have, well, actually, if you consider all the different derivations, we have about 35 different ingredients, and each of those has several different forms usually. Now, what I would say is this, that out of those 35 ingredients, we have really 5 or 6 that we focus on. Our bread and butter. They're products that were, in each case, either the largest or second largest producer in the world. And so that's where, it's driving 80-90% of our sales, these 6 ingredients.
Yeah. So now you haven't just stepped down as CEO. Like, have you officially retired? Like, are you done skiing?
Almost. Well, March 1st, Shaheen takes over all of my duties, and I'm going to stay on with BGG in a consulting role, but it's going to be like 40 hours a month instead of like 60 hours a week. So that's, that's what I'm looking forward to be honest with you.
Right. Yeah. So, if you're fortunate, what people would do was they would work all their lives in the shadow of New York City, and then they would, if they were lucky, retire to Hawaii. You went about this the opposite way. Well, you're a Jersey boy to start, but then you lived in Hawaii for many, many years. What are you doing now? What are you going back?
So no desire to go back to Jersey. Other than to visit some friends and such, but I need some good Italian food. But my wife and I, our passion is traveling. And so I've traveled a lot for business over the years. Now we're going to have fun and really, do things the right way. And so COVID permitting, we're going to be all over the world for the next several years.
Oh, good. So, but are you still keeping your house there on the Big Island?
Yeah, that's a home base. Yep.
Oh, good. Good.
No, Todd, I'm waiting for you to get back here.
One day,
brother.
One day, I will get back there. That was nice. Yeah, that was a real special experience that I had there. Really memorable, personally and professionally. It was really fantastic. What other, just last thing, when you think about, so I get it, you're not officially leaving. Although I remember when my dad retired, he was a New York school teacher, and he went down to Florida. That's where, New Yorkers go to retire. And he was like, yeah, I think maybe I'll be a tutor, to school kids, like the equivalent of being a consultant. And then after like a couple months of being down there in Florida, he's like, I'm good. I'm just going to play tennis every day. I'm fine. So, travel. Yeah. Consultant. Yeah. I think if, honey, maybe I should, work for 40 hours over the next month, or should we go to Bali?
Well, you know what? I actually enjoy a lot of what I do work-wise. And so it's not going to be hard to work 40 hours a month. And, a lot of projects lined up, and, being able to travel and work, remotely is great. So it's not going to hinder any of the fun part of retirement. And so, I got a firm contract for a year to do this, and who knows after that, we'll see what happens. But I love the company. I love the quality of the products we produce. I love our chairman and founder. He's really one of the greatest guys I've ever worked for in my career. And so it's all good, and looking forward to the next year as well, not just the previous 32 in this industry that I've had. So
right. Well, there you have it, friends. Bob Capelli, just living there in the Pacific, having some great leadership roles, having some really creative thinking over his distinguished career there. Bob, it's good to talk to you. It's good to see you again, at least here on the Zoom calls. One day I will be back on the Big Island. We will sit out on your deck overlooking the Pacific. It'll be great.
And if we don't meet in Hawaii, then we got to meet the next Burning Man that they have. Okay?
That's right. Absolutely. Good stuff. All right. That's Bob Capelli. Thanks for joining us today, Bob. Really appreciate that.
That was great. Thank you, Todd.
Sustainable material.